Told you the CIA once upon a time had an investigation of astral projection themselves, that they actually spent millions of dollars to investigate astral projection and see if it works and what they could do with it. They did. And they even left behind documents, classified, now declassified documents, about everything they found out and what they thought about it. So let's get on to it. I'm your guy Frank. I've been doing astral projection since who knows when, for decades. Let's see, 1 decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, at least 3 decades. Let's just keep it at that. Right. Yeah. So I'm not any neophyte to this. I know what the deal is. And a lot of this is going to be around the gateway process from the Monroe Institute. And Robert Monroe, he wrote books about it. I read all the books. The Monroe Institute is still up and running. And the gateway process is still up and running as well. We're going to go into what that is, what it's like, what they were studying, and what it's like now, and did it work or didn't it work, and what the CIA found out. So in 1983, the CIA commissioned an investigation of the gateway process at the Monroe Institute, studying out-of-body experiences, or OBEs, for remote viewing, and of course, it's the CIA, so espionage, right? So picture this kind of like an X-Files sort of situation. An agent probably learned about this, was probably tasked about learning about things like this, kind of like a Mulder situation, and he would investigate and look for X-Files that he could study, right? And then he found this, and then he probably brought it to his supervisor, and his supervisor okayed it. It looked good. It looked like it was worthy of more study. I mean, we're at the highest levels of the United States government here, some of the highest. And then his supervisor, of course, took it to his director, the director of the program, before this could get approved. And the documents have them saying that the Army tasked them to investigate this as well. It's a little gray area stuff, and although I'm bringing up the X-Files, which is FBI, this is the CIA, but you can kind of get the idea. And I think they might have, the X-Files might have taken a page from this, because these investigators, you have the one investigator that kind of believes this stuff and is investigating this stuff, and then he's accompanied by a doctor, like the Scully character in the X-Files, right? It's very useful to have both of those archetypes, both of those disciplines working at this problem, investigation, because they have different perspectives and different knowledge bases in order to come to a conclusion about this document, this study actually. And I'll show you the document. A link down below, by the way, so you could check that out. And it is at the CIA. It is, you'll see, CIA.gov. The document states that that consciousness exists outside the body. They didn't even quibble with that. Millions of people are like, well, I don't know, maybe I should go to a monastery, or I should meditate on whether the consciousness. Well, the CIA, they solved that back in 1983, dude. Right? They were like, no, we're done. And if you read the documents, they take at face value a lot of things that you would have thought, they should be questioning. This sounds too woo-woo. I mean, the whole topic of astral projection, if you talk about it at work or something, it's just too woo-woo. It's just too out there. And, hey, the CIA was investigating it, and they found that it works. They're not like, oh, let's, hug a tree, or, go to a fortune teller or anything like that. They're really investigating this like they investigate a crime. They got specialists. They spent millions of dollars. And this goes up and up. Um, and the big wigs in the Army and the CIA all said this was worthy of investigation. Well, there you go. Now, this document that I'm going to show you was investigated by the Army, but the CIA is behind this whole thing. So anyway, yeah, the document states that consciousness exists beyond the physical brain and can access other places and dimensions. Yeah, so if you have a big wig in the Army saying, hey man, you need to investigate this and find out what this is, that's because they thought it had military applications, obviously. But also because they thought it might be valuable. I mean, they talked a lot about it. By the time they tasked somebody to look into it, they probably had 4 or 5 meetings about it and kicked it up several levels before somebody approved it. This is not like, hey man, go down and read an article and tell me what the article is about. No, this is the actual investigation. And these investigations take weeks. They state it right in the documents because there's a lot going on. And it's a matter of fact, in the first paragraph, he basically says, look, this on the face of it seems pretty simple to investigate, but it has a lot of stuff going on in it. And it's very complicated. And several pages, dense paragraphs through it, and some drawings, actually. It's a good read. It's actually a good read. I like it. But it shows that the military thought this was a serious thing. So the Gateway program has one thing in it that's key to everything, and that's the HemiSync technology that they produced. But basically, HemiSync had been around a long time before that. What HemiSync or they coined it HemiSync, is when you have a different frequency in one ear than the other. And instead of it sounding like you got a sound in this ear and you got a sound in that ear, that's a little different. It sounds like you got one sound right here in the middle of your head. It's awesome. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about it. I encourage you to listen to them. One caveat to those is that you have to have headphones because there has to be a different frequency in each ear. If you're listening to it where the speaker is here, then that sound goes to both ears, and that's not HemiSync. You'll see it's a different experience. Try it. Look into a HemiSync video. Try it without the headphones and then with the headphones. It's a totally different experience. But anyway, Robert Monroe was the first person to say, hey man, this is a technology. We need to give it a special name like HemiSync, and then we need to patent it, I guess. And then we need to make money, I guess. And to incorporate it in a whole special program. He felt that HemiSync was going to be able to open up altered states of consciousness. Now, it's been some decades afterwards, and they've studied this quite extensively, and now, unfortunately, HemiSync really doesn't open up altered states of consciousness, unfortunately. But it is why a lot of people listen to Hertz videos like HZ, 4.5 Hertz actually is a popular one, which mimics the Gateway's Focus 10 state. So if you want to try that out in your next meditation, I've tried it, and I didn't believe it, honestly, at first. And it is a very deep and very productive and powerful meditation that I've tried before. 4.5 Hertz. It mimics the Gateway's Focus 10 state. What is that? I know. They have a lot of focuses. It goes up to Focus 21. Focus 10 is usually a beginning state. You can almost always get to Focus 10. But we'll go over that in a minute. So that was a big part of their program because they believed that could help them. And I guess it was helping them a lot, but they didn't need the hemisync. And another aspect of it is the energy conversion box. I still use this today. I picked it up way back in the day when this was new, and I had actually forgot about it, that it had been called the energy conversion box. And while I was reviewing the materials for this video, I came back on this and I really didn't know if that was the thing, and it is the thing. Energy conversion box is basically a tool a meditative tool, honestly, where you have a box or a container or a washing machine or something like that, where you take your worries and distractions, and because when you start meditating, and everybody knows this, things come up to you. Hey man, what about these bills you have to pay? Hey man, what about your car? What about your job? What about this? What about that? You take those whatabouts and you put them in the energy conversion box. It could look like a wooden box, whatever, a safe. I'm thinking a washing machine might be good. I've never used that one. I've used a wooden box, and honestly, I used a black hole as well. But you want to be able to get it back, right? You don't want these thoughts to just drop off a cliff, because they're important to you. That's why your mind is bringing them up to you. Some people use a vacuum cleaner, and what that does is it gets it out of your space, your mental space. And the investigator for it in the document basically said that he thought it was you giving your mind permission to put these on the back shelf for your subconscious and would come back to you later. And that's probably a pretty good description in some ways about what's going on here. And it totally works. I used it for decades. And like I just said, I totally forgot what it was called. It's just something I do. So all that stuff when you're meditating, and I don't even really hear meditators talking about this. I've heard a lot of directed, guided meditations, and they do not use the energy conversion box method. And it works just so well because it takes your stuff and puts it someplace for you to have it. So the mind says, oh, this is important stuff. We don't want to throw it away because it's important. Oh, but we can put it over here for a while. Okay, I can do that. And it does. And then you can get through with the meditation or astral projection, whatever you want to do. Yeah, and you can always go back to that box to put your worries or whatever's going through your mind in that box. You can go back to it and put more in. And at the end of the meditation, you can also go back to it and unlock it, or whatever you have to do. Reach into the ball of light you put it into and take the stuff back out, or whatever you want to do with it. There are a couple of other techniques that are like that by that name. The worry doll concept, where you had a doll, you put your worries in. I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but it's kind of like the voodoo doll. You take it out of you and you put it in that. If that works for you, fine. It's just a temporary storage to put your stuff in so your mind won't go on and on about it while you're trying to do something else. So let's go on to the focus levels. I talked a little about the focus levels. Focus 10 is where your body is asleep and your mind is awake. A lot like sleep paralysis. A lot like sleep paralysis. That's why I always say sleep paralysis is your friend. It's not your enemy. It's just that we don't know how to use it, right? It's just a tool that we don't know how to use, and when you don't know how to use it, it's a little scary. But it is totally your friend, and here they give it a name. I don't even think that they're trying to. It's not. I've been with the Focus 10 thing, and it's not sleep paralysis. Your body is asleep and your mind is actually awake, but it's not sleep paralysis. But it could be. Let's just move on to the next thing. Uh, Focus 12, expanded awareness, vibrational. This is the vibrational state. And if you've ever tried to do the astral projection thing um, from the waking state, you're going to go through the vibrational state. The vibrational state is a state where you'll know when you get to it. You'll know when you get to it. It's where there's a lot of vibrations in your head, for lack of a better word or phrase. It's going to be like a jet engine, a loud jet engine, or a loud drill. Like, when somebody's, I've heard a drill. Actually, now they're doing at the YMCA I go to, where they're drilling into a cinder block to do whatever. And there's a drilling sound and a screeching sound and this thumping sound all in one. That's what it's at a very loud volume. In fact, some people feel that the volume is so loud that they're scared it's going to hurt their hearing or make them deaf or something like that. It's just incredibly loud. But it's the psychological sound, okay? It's not actual. Your ears have nothing to do with this sound, so don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. And when you get to the point where you realize this isn't going to hurt you, it's just the sound um, that is made up by your mind, just ride it out. Because on the other side of that is an awesome experience, guy. It's an awesome experience. Okay, so Focus 15, they call it timelessness. Okay. This is where some people report meeting their guides. Um, Now, I met my guides in the astral, definitely. And honestly, I met the group of them by accident. Right? Uh, I was in a park, which Focus 15 is usually it's a park. It's a place where a lot of people are supposed to go that that they would all resonate on the same frequency with. A common place that everybody would go. And that was called Focus 15 instead of like Washington Square Park or something in the astral. It's just a non-physical place with a certain frequency that everybody can tune into and everybody can go there, so that it's a common place that we all can get to and meet and do all the certain things that this program has mapped out. In this state, to meet some of your guides, or maybe all of your guides, I don't know. My experience with meeting my guides is I was walking in a park. It was a very nice park, and I was like, wow, look at the astral. It's just so amazing that it's so much like the physical. It's just so much. I can see so far off into the distance. The grass is blue. There's a pond over there. Actually, look at it. It's like a lake. It's not changing or moving or wishy-washy. It's as solid as anything in the physical. There's people walking around, and there's that guy over there, and oh wow, he's got people watching him, floating with him. Those are his guides. Wow. I wonder if I could see my guides, And I looked behind me, and there was a group of people there watching me, and they all went like this, right? When almost all of them like hid behind other ones, like yeah, like they were all no, yeah, like they didn't want to be seen. Some of them didn't want to be seen, and I was like, oh my God, those are my guides. Oh my goodness, and that, yeah, the excitement blew the experience. But I was glad to wake up. That was part of my automatic wake up program as well. Anytime I have a huge epiphany like that, I am more than welcome to wake up. I've told my mind that. I've told my body that. Basically, my whole system. I've told if I ever want to wake up, because now if I fell off into a dream or something like that, I would have forgotten the whole amazing experience. And I looked up some of the clothes they were wearing, and I found that some of it does actually have historical background to it. Because I saw one prominent character in the front, and she like she was taken back that I had turned around so suddenly, but she wasn't hiding. And she was more towards the front. She was wearing a gray dress, which looked odd. It had pockets in the front, and it was flat gray. It almost looked um, industrial, right? Um, Flat shoulders, short, it, and then it had like almost like an apron in the front of it. So I looked it up on the internet, and sure enough, it exists. It is a Civil War Confederate States dress for a nurse. And that was exactly it. If you look that up, that's exactly what I saw. So one of my guides is a Confederate nurse from the Civil War. Maybe a past incarnation. I don't know. I haven't really investigated it that much. I got a lot of things on my palette, baby. So I got a lot going on here. So that's good enough for me. That is verification for me that that is true and that happened. It's not my imagination or anything like that. And there were others in there too. They wore various different types of clothing and were various heights and sexes and colors. And there was some in the back that didn't even look like they were of a physical state, like they were like a glowy, misty state. Anyway, so those are my guides, my team, as I call them. Yeah. And they're supposed to be at Focus 15 so that you can go there and talk with them, hopefully not negotiate and please help me get this job. Please help me get some money in my bank account. No, you're supposed to go there and have conversations with them, and they'll have conversations with you. Okay, so you can try out this gateway method on your own. I have the audio tapes, the original audio tapes, right? And I did definitely try it. I tried it with the headphones, the whole thing when it was new, before this was a fad, before I was trying this out before it was a thing. I have to say it didn't really work for me. Nope, it didn't really work. So yeah, you can try this gateway method out on your own. It's not a cost. Back in the day, it definitely was a cost, and I paid probably $30 or $40, which was a lot back in the day, for audio, and it came in a nice case and all that. And I tried it out. That includes the HemiSync. It includes getting you to Focus 10, and it includes the Energy Box and Focus 12. So let's go over that. You can do all that on your own. The HemiSync, you can do it on your own. There are plenty of videos that take you to HemiSync, but I would go for the 4.5 hertz, honestly. I found a lot of power in that frequency for meditation. And then you can try and relax your body and keep your mind alert. Relax your body, keep your mind alert. I still do that to this day. That works all the time. They called that Focus 10. They had to give it a name, right, so that everybody could get to it, understand what's being asked of them, or where to get. And that's Focus 10 for them, and it definitely works. You'll hear about it a lot in astral projection circles. And the energy conversion box, you'll probably never hear that term again, but it's useful. I still use it to this day, especially when meditating. And so when you get to that space, or before, anytime you need it actually in this process, use that energy conversion box. Come up with it on your own. Think about it for a while. What feels comfortable for you? Is it a wooden box? Or is it a vacuum cleaner, or is it a tube that goes, a tunnel that goes to who knows where into the future when you're done with this meditation? Or it can be magic, it can be light, it can be energy, it can be an animal, a carrier pigeon that grabs your thoughts away with it, and it goes away and comes back later. I don't know. Whatever works. A drone that comes down and picks it and it flies away. Whatever works for you. It is a very helpful technology, I guess you could call it, in meditating, and it's very rarely used. And then you could try and reach focus 12. This is where you will get the vibrations that I spoke of. And they can be loud and sudden and frightening. When people, almost everybody is frightened by them when they first hear them. I know I was. So this is basically a very direct method to get to the vibration state, is what most people call it nowadays. They're calling it focus 12. It's a very direct shot to it, and most people don't do that nowadays. I don't know if it's just the gurus trying to make everything complicated. But once you get to that state, the vibrations and everything like that, you're ready. If you can get past that, you will have an out of body experience. You'll be ready. Just roll to the left, roll to the right, whatever works for you. Right. When you are in this state, you're ready to have your out of body experience. But what a lot of people do is they desire help, and they just send that feeling out, because as you're desiring help, I wish somebody could help me with this. I wish somebody could pull me out. That's what it feels like. You will get people to help pull you out, and they will help pull you out. And sometimes if you let them, they will pull you out and you will have an out of body experience. But most people, when they have strange hands reaching into their body and trying to pull, they are not cool with that. People pulling, strange people in your bedroom pulling at your feet, that freaks people out. It freaks a lot of people out, man. Right? So you might not want that, but you might be cool with it. I just don't like, I would say I will only want my guides to help pull me out, or angels or guides or anything like that, instead of just anybody, because you don't know what they're going to do after they pull you out. They're just going to scare the heck out of you, because that's really all they really can do. Some beings love scaring you almost to death, right? And it's just going to be a bad experience. But yeah, that can be an experience that you can't have. And that is basically what they're calling focus 12 that you've, 12 that you've gotten to. It's an interesting experience. Let it happen. Roll out technique, I highly recommend. Some people also like the idea of floating up. Just let themselves be floated up, or they think of their ceiling. So like this ceiling is popcorn ceiling. What I would do if I was using that method is I would concentrate on the ceiling and feel like it's going to pull me up. Or some people like to think of themselves being pulled down by gravity. A lot of people don't like that falling feeling, and they try and catch themselves right away. A lot of people have that in their sleep, kids especially. If you ever started falling asleep and then you felt like you had to catch yourself, that's it. You were right there. If you let that continue happening, you would have been in an out-of-body experience just like that. You probably wouldn't have remembered it, but you would have had one. And yes, that's a thing, having out-of-body experiences and not remembering them. But let's move on to the next thing. So what do the critics say? So there's critics of this, right? And they basically say it's like a controlled hallucination, where you set up as an experience and then you force yourself to hallucinate it. First of all, controlled hallucination, it's kind of an oxymoron. Hallucinations are chaotic by nature. You can kind of set them up, but then they go on their own, right? Like a dream. So a controlled hallucination, probably not going to be happening. Also, this has already been studied, dude. These documents already studied it. They already proved it. The CIA already proved it. They said they couldn't debunk it, just like they couldn't debunk remote viewing. They said it was a thing, it really happens, and they gave a breakdown on how they could improve on it and use it in future applications. So yeah, and it's kind of like, yes, the X-Files. These are professionals. These aren't UFO chasers, or I don't know, your average YouTube UFO, I'm going to read your future guru. These are people with badges and careers and big salaries that are writing these reports here and coming up with, yeah, out of body experience is a real thing. I see some military applications to this, and we need to do this, this, and this, and this needs to be studied further, and this document is meant to help anybody else who comes behind me to also study this as well, because he knew that once he found it to be a factual thing, there's going to be other people to figure this out even more and see how it could work for them. So of course you want to look at the CIA document. I've actually downloaded it to my computer because there's a lot of helpful hints on there on what we can do. But he was giving it to the Army. He was telling the Army, this is what you can do to further this and further this technology. And think about it. 1983, they went further on this, right? They investigated more, and they probably developed their own program on it, and probably have been developing their own program on it for what now, 40 years? So yeah, it's a worthy thing. It's a worthy thing to check out, and we can definitely glean a lot of information from reading these documents. So the CIA investigating stuff, the Army investigating stuff. What do you think? Do you think they're hiding other like spiritual secrets and technologies? I would hope so, because you want to do your job. Honestly, it was all about national security back in the day, because they knew the adversaries were working on these things. The Russians were very outspoken about working on some of these aspects as well. And the United States feared that, hey man, if some of this stuff works, even some of this stuff works, we don't want to be caught behind the ball on this. We want to be ahead of the Russians on this. We don't want Russian agents, having an astral projection into the sensitive parts of our government and taking all kinds of knowledge back out. And at least we could see what they're up against if they should try this technology. And so they had no problem with it. They thought it was a real thing, and it is a real thing. I can tell you, because I've done it a million times already. Right. So next time, I'll show you how you can meet your spirit guides and the techniques that let you do that. I did it by accident. It's not difficult. There are other techniques that you can use to do it too, and we'll do that in the next video.